Hey, Goss Harag, I'm a huge fan, and I was really hoping that I could get your greatsword to use. I really want to farm.
You want my greatsword, you say? Of course! Here!
No, I didn't mean like, oh! Thank you for that. Who knew farming weapons would be so easy now? You're so cool.
Greatsword on bear!
Hello, my fellow hunters, and welcome to some delicious Rise news fed directly to you like a mama bird feeding its chicks. I'm gonna regurgitate information. Anyway, so we have had a lovely interview with Mr. Ichinose, the director of Monster Hunter Rise, and also the director of pretty much every portable Monster Hunter, and he is very much someone who likes to take it in a new direction when he's at the helm. Think Hunter Arts and GU. This time, of course, we have a much more high-impact, action, fast-paced, wire-buggy hunting experience, and honestly, the man's a goddamn maverick, and I love him. And this is what he's had to say about a few little things we've been wondering about in Rise. Firstly, of course, the game is very much more action-orientated. Of course, evidently in the combat itself, but also the fact that little things like scout flies aren't returning. Instead, the monsters are just on the map immediately from the start. You can get on your Palamute and rock it to them. Beginning the hunt then is as quick and simple as, well, beginning the hunt. But we knew all that from the demo. But also with recent things like hot drinks being removed.
I'll miss you, you hot son of a bitch.
And this is not to make things casual mode, as a lot of people have said, though I can totally get why that perspective. We have been trained that hunting is about preparation. It's about mastering every system the game has to offer, and as you strip them away, it does feel like a simpler, more streamlined experience. But in this case, the simpler and streamlined is to get you to the hunt faster in a way that doesn't make you go, oh, I forgot hot drinks. Alright, guess I'm gonna go farm some or I'll return from the hunt. It's to just make things more about the pure, actual expression of fighting the monster itself, which isn't a bad thing. Quality of life is the name of the game here, and quality of life does not mean necessarily simplicity or dumbing down or easifying. Being able to teleport to camps in world is quality of life, but it doesn't really make the hunt easier. It's not like it's super fun to have to manually chase the monster across the map. Obviously it can have its charm in moments, but having that option to just teleport to the closest camp is obviously good. Things like seeing the full weapon tree at the blacksmith, so you're not having to guess what upgrade into what, and after opening up an external website to tell you what upgrades into what. Essentially, if the game presents you with something, and the best solution you can find to understanding it is to search the internet rather than the game, well then, there is something missing. There is something slightly wrong with the design itself. And that, I think, is totally okay. Having the ability to change equipment while hunting, you know, it's fine. It just gives people more options, especially when they want people to play more weapons, and they're making that easier to do so than ever before. But we will get to that. Essentially, the goal of Rise is to be accessible to new players. And that's not a bad goal, because the portable series, the old style, has always been incredibly, well, complicated, system dense. There's a lot you can miss and a lot to learn. It is quite the wall for someone who has never experienced Monster Hunter before. And even for any of you that have only played World, the stuff that the old games tend to do, even now will still feel a bit what? Chiefly as an example, something like the old school skill system, which is, I want to put on 3 pieces of armor that give me +4, 3, and 3 in a skill, which adds up to +10, which will then activate rank 1 of the skill. That just sounds bonkers when you compare to World's much more intuitive, streamlined, and effective. Oh, my armor gives me 2 ranks of a skill. I have 2 ranks of that skill, and it does stuff for me equal to having 2 ranks. As would, you know, make sense. I think World and Iceborne's skill system is the best it has ever been, with perhaps it's just a bit too easy to get too many skills, but that's just a armor tuning problem more than a core system issue. But that doesn't mean to say that the depth is going away for experienced hunters. In fact, Ichinose has stressed that you will still get absolutely destroyed by the more difficult quests, even with absolutely tip-top endgame armor fully upgraded. That is kind of exciting, because that's what you want. You want a monster hunter that, to begin with, is very much intuitive. You just pick it up, you can hop in a hunt, you can fight the monster, you can have fun, and you can follow a kind of common sense treadmill gameplay loop to take you to the end game. Then you can start digging down in systems to enrich that experience. It's when a billion of those systems is thrown at you from Hunt 1 that it starts to be, I don't know if this game's for me. So that's really cool to see. So on that front then, with endgame hunts being brutally difficult in mind, the village quests have been made deliberately easier. They are scaled down, and the village is essentially designed for newer players to progress through and learn the game, with the hub being the main challenge. Now, in previous games, the village quests were the single-player-only story. Whether that will still be the case and the story will be almost the tutorially easy path to begin with is up in the air, but they just want to make that learning curve approachable. Though I am still finding it very sad that it looks like Village, and therefore maybe the story is going to be single player only. I'd very much like to be able to do that in multiplayer to experience it. I thought the world assignments were absolutely fine, bar the fact that you couldn't watch cutscenes together, so you had to do this annoying dance of both of you going in a single player hunt, watching the entry cutscene of the monster, and then one of you leaving and joining the other, and it was just a very needlessly convoluted process. But that system where both of you can watch the intro cutscene of the monster together, like you could do a few times in World and Iceborne with things like Behemoth or Fatalis, well, that is perfect. That is the ideal. So to me, this is still slightly a step back, but also I get it. Rise was in development before World was even a thing. Initially, it started out not even having an open map and had the old style of loading screens between zones, which has a charm to it, but I think that charm no longer really has a place in modern Monster Hunter. It is too lovely to have a big sprawling environment to hunt these, well, animals living in it within. So no more, oh, I left the oven on in the other zone as I'm on 5% health and dying. I'll just be over here, Mr. Monster, sir, don't hurt me. So that is the only real downside, but also we eliminate the fact of being clobbered into another zone and having to go through a loading screen and two to get back to the actual hunt. In any case, the big theme here is not just quality of life, but quality of life from World and Iceborne. It was, okay, we've been working on Rise, but we've seen the massive success of World and Iceborne. We can't just ignore the strengths of that game. Otherwise, people will come into Rise and be like, this is a huge step back, I don't like this. And that's a very sensible decision. And in some cases, taken even further. Not just a gathering hub to be with other players, but the whole village and training area itself, being able to wire bug around. Hell, you can even teleport to various facilities in the village like you can teleport to camps. Just make things snappier, make things faster, which obviously marries beautifully with the portable nature of a game that you can just whip out and play. You want things to just happen, and that is very sensible. Talking of things just happening then, the weapons. They want the weapons to be, as they always have been, hard to master. There's a lot of depth and even more with the wire bugs, but the main thing is easy to upgrade, easy to forge. They want people to play a variety of different weapons. And this then is literally said as, we decided to significantly reduce the amount of materials necessary to upgrade weapons for Rise. Now, it depends what this is compared to. Because if this is compared to other older Monster Hunter games, this is fantastic. Because it really took a lot of material farming to get anywhere with anything other than your main weapon and your main armor set. Whereas if that's set in comparison to World and Iceborne, that is way too far. You're going to be able to make an entire arsenal of weapons with a monster's left toenail. And that's why I doubt that it is. It's just a healthy reduction so that if you're like, oh, I really should try Greatsword as it is the best weapon, then you can just easily make a competitive Greatsword and get on with it. You don't have to go, well, I guess the next 7 hours is dedicated to having a usable weapon in another category from my main. And that's, again, marries into this straight to the action, ease of life, portable, let's get on with this hunting philosophy, and that's really, really cool. So, yeah, I am all about making things easier to just get a hold of, coupled with harder endgame hunts and an easier curve to begin with, and quality of life from World and Iceborne. It really seems like a lot of sensible design philosophies have been poured into Rise, and I am very excited to experience them. Also then, he was asked which weapon was the best for beginners. And while he was tempted to say Sword and Shield, as that was the de facto answer before, he has now switched. The Sword and Shield has become a lot more complex, so now his starter weapon of choice, and this is the director of Rise, by the way, guys, so you can't disagree with this, alright? He says that he thinks Longsword has become the best weapon for beginners, as you can easily deliver good flow of attacks by simply pressing the buttons. So there you go, absolute confirmation from the devs, Longsword, easiest noob weapon, just mash buttons, kill monster. So you think about that, you goddamn tripping bastards! In any case, that's about all the info I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed listening to it and my thoughts upon it. And until next time, like if you enjoyed this, subscribe for more. Please consider supporting the future of the channel on Patreon down below. A goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.